Shambhu, thank you for being on Empower Network TV, Shambhu Hart, and I'm excited to interview you today.
Glad to be here, and greetings from the Hawaiian island of Kauai. It's bright and early 7 a.m. here, so please forgive me if I'm a little bit slow. I'm still in the process of waking up.
Me too, it's okay. So the way out is the way in. Let's start with that. What do you mean by that?
So we moved to Kauai 6 years ago. We used to be in the Bay Area for many years. I'm in the technology industry by profession, my daily job. And Kauai, being on Hawaii has so many impacts to you. Purification, uplifting, elevating impacts. And one of them, Amos, is just the island. And here it's amazing. Like I wake up with the sun, I want to go back to the go to bed with the sun. So here you become more in tune with nature, and really just slowing down gives you a different perspective that you might not have by living in Vancouver or the Bay Area, where I used to be, in the craziness and the hustle and bustle of the Bay Area. And we moved 6 years ago, and it took the island 3-4 years to work with me to get me to slow down. I call her Mother Kauai, and it's a very real experience. Here, I love hiking into the mountains. Plus, I'm a beach bum. I walk the dog almost every day if the weather is nice. And here you go in the mountain, and very soon, there's no sign of civilization. It's just you and Kauai and nature. And you walk here, and everywhere you just feel love. Just the island itself emanates love. And the way I describe it is, geologically, the way the Hawaiian Islands are formed is quite interesting. I'll use a prop. So imagine there's an opening in the crust of the earth that does not move. And it's emanating magma all the time, constantly. It's as if Mother Earth is spilling her guts out, right? She's bringing her inner essence up to be visible from the guts of the earth, right? And with the tectonic plates, they keep on moving gradually and slowly, right? So over time, and you look on the map, the Hawaiian Islands almost on a straight line, right? So Kauai is one of the older islands. The volcano that basically the island has been dormant for millions of years now. And in millions of years, the island will completely disappear back into the ocean from erosion, right? And now the big island is the live island, and actually it's a new island being formed outside that will be east of the big island, right? So a lot of magic going on here. The interplay of fire and water, right? And air, of course. And there's a lot of violence going on, right, on the big island. And you can describe the Hawaiian Islands in terms of the evolution of a human being. Right now, the big island is the teenager, the unruly wild teenager, right? And the further west you go, Kauai is the grandmother, right? The loving, embracing grandmother. So what did she teach me, right? So many lessons to talk about, but one of the main ones that's completely changed my life was in 2020, I'm meditating on the beach. There's a beautiful beach here called Anini. And I get into a deep state of meditation where there's no thought, Nirvikalpa Samadhi, for a long time, probably an hour. And at some point, and it's not because I'm a capable meditator or a yogi, it's just because the land, just the energy of the place just takes you there automatically. And at some point, this voice tells me to start meditating 1 hour a day in stillness. 1 hour a day in stillness. And it wasn't like, it wasn't from my mind, or it wasn't some authoritative voice, you should meditate 1 hour a day in stillness. No, it wasn't like that. It was just as if something from deep within me, was telling me that would be good for you. And I was like, yes, ma'am, right? Heard the message from the goddess. And I started doing that, Amos. And what was amazing is, so up until then, I would describe my spiritual practice as Kundalini. It's called Kundalini sadhana. Sadhana in Sanskrit means practice. And with Kundalini, you can get lost in moving energy, up and down, left and right, oh, look at me, who I am, right? It becomes a little bit of a circus, right? Any spiritual practice becomes a little bit of a circus if you focus too much on the technique. And okay, I need to do something to get somewhere or to produce some desired effect, right? And sometimes undesired effects, actually, right? So what ends up happening is, and I wish someone told me this like 20 years ago when I started my spiritual journey, the technique itself becomes an obstacle. It reinforces duality. So I need to do this pranayama. I need to lower the upper kundalini and raise the lower kundalini for something to happen, right? For my heart to open or whatever, right? It's partially true, right? It can have this effect, but you open your eyes and you engage in the world and you back to your old self, right? It just doesn't stick, doesn't stay, right? So and that inherent premise of a lot of spiritual techniques and practices, I need to do something to get something, at its deepest level, it only reinforces duality. One of the many lessons by this voice telling me, just spend 1 hour in stillness, don't do anything. Just sit still, right? Which means go underneath the energies and fluctuations of the senses, of the mind, of the emotions and the thought constructs, and just sit the fuck still. Excuse my language, right? And that's completely changed my life. Everything, every aspect of my life, including my spiritual practice, where this easing into this presence that's always there without assuming or having to do any gymnastics. Whether it's a Kundalini practice, a lot of people do ayahuasca, Kolko ceremonies, people sprinkle themselves with flowers or Tibetan bowls and all of that to try to produce or get somewhere, right? All of that is completely unnecessary. And what's interesting is, as you drop into that place of stillness, you begin to hear. And what do you hear? You're not hearing your mind anymore. There's deeper intelligence that begins to inform you. A few months after this voice told me to start spending an hour a day in stillness, the same voice told me to write a book on stillness. And my tradition is called non-dual Kashmir Shaivism, which is a coalescence of 5 different traditions, actually. And it's about truly understanding the interplay that life, all of it, creation, everything, is a interplay of energy and consciousness. And that same energy, basically, I would describe it. I'll describe her as the goddess. I said, yes, ma'am. Consider it done. So that was January 2023. I got this message on the beach, the same beach where I got the original message. And I published the book in December 19, just a couple months ago. It's called Sacred Repose, Abiding in Bliss and Freedom. And the central teaching is that, and all of it is based on scripture, which I elucidate and also share my own experience, that there's only one knower, one perceiver, one agent, reposing in bliss and freedom. That's extracted from a scripture called Tantra Sara, which is the summary of the Tantra Loka. Tantra Loka means the light on and of the Tantras, written by Abhinavagupta. and almost 1,000 years ago. And that concept of repose, so profound. And what's interesting is the very first time I heard the word repose was several years ago, and I heard it first in Sanskrit. The Sanskrit word is Vishranti. And just the resonance of the word started awakening something in me without even knowing what it means. And later I found out the meaning, which is repose. And after that, I found the scriptural reference, the teaching that there's only one knower, there's only one consciousness, reposing in bliss and freedom. How powerful. Then the question is, and in the book, I tried to make this statement, but I wasn't ready to do it. Maybe the next version of the book that will happen. But I think Amos repose is the highest teaching. And the book goes through the stages of repose. And the highest is the light. There's only one light. And I'll share something highly personal, which I don't do very often. But I become more comfortable sharing about it because I think I'm just ready because I processed it. So in my early teens, I had a near-death experience. I almost drowned. And what was amazing is that as I began to cross over, what you might call on the other side, but actually it wasn't the other side. It's all sides. There isn't a time or space where it isn't. I was just present and aware, and all there was the light. I joined the NDE group support thing a couple of years ago on Zoom, and everybody sharing their near-death experience. And what's interesting is that it's really funny because there was a party on the other side. There was like castles with flowers and angels sprinkling dust and all of this, and people who have passed on greeting them on the other side. There was a party waiting for everybody, right? Except me. There was no party. It was just the light, right? And that light was quiescent, very quiet. It was just there, completely full in itself. What you might call reposing in itself. There was nothing to do. There was nothing to know. There was no sense of will or desire to complete yourself in any way, but just be as that light, reposing in itself as bliss and freedom in complete stillness. And what I've been sharing with my little meditation group over the last couple of weeks is that as the body was about to fall off, and that crossing over to be completed, there wasn't a sense of crossing over some wormhole to the other side of the universe to meet that light. It's right here, right now. And actually, what I realized only over the last couple of weeks is as the body sheds, at least my perception, my experience was that actually you're collapsing within yourself into the light. You're not going anywhere. You're just reposing in yourself, in your own being. When Ramana Maharshi get cancer, and it's interesting, a lot of great spiritual teachers have cancers or get crucified, right? When people are asking, "Oh, Ramana, please don't go, we need you," he said, "I'm not going anywhere. Where can I go? I'm right here." Right? So for me, it was that same experience. And when people dove in and they took me out and they saved me, I was very angry and very sad because I didn't want to come back to this planet. There's a sense of that I don't belong here. This is not home. No, this is not home, right? But clearly grace wanted me to come back because, well, clearly I had a lot of karma to burn, right? And service to do. And I would say that light of consciousness from this Andy wanted to express itself as this book, Sacred Repose, Abiding in Bliss and Freedom, because that's, in my mind, the highest teaching. How cannot be? If the highest reality is the light, this mystically unmoving light that at the same time is moving, that dynamic stillness that's happening all the time, at the microcosm, in every thought, every feeling, every emotion we have, right? It's happening within its own divine mind, if you will, but it's not impacted by it. It's beyond time and space. And the human mind cannot understand that. The human mind has to be completely annihilated. The Sufis call it fana fi Allah, annihilated in Allah, right? There's no other way. And the pathway for that to happen is perfect, complete stillness. There's no other way. And hence the message from that voice, hey Shambhu, start spending an hour a day in stillness, right? And it's been so transformative. And what I also started doing is I found another scriptural reference where basically they're saying in 4 sessions, in 4 sittings of 3 hours each, if you can sit still for 3 hours in 4 sessions in stillness in your heart center, you'll be free. So in my meditation group, like every 3-4 months, we do that 4 days in a row. Each day we sit 3 hours in stillness, kind of longer. So I sit 1 hour a day in stillness every day, Saturdays for 2 hours. And then 3-4 months, we do like 3 hours a day. And that's been transformative. And I cannot recommend it enough. The other message from that voice, the voice that told me to do this, was that because humanity needs it. We're going through a collective human consciousness where everything, we've chosen to invert everything to find ourselves, if you will, right? Up is down, left is right, everybody going crazy, right? In so many different ways. And really, that at some point is going to throw all of us into deep stillness and ask ourselves, what the heck are we doing? What are we doing individually to each of us? Right? I joke that, we should have a holiday. Everybody has an opinion these days. Let's call this holiday No Opinion Day, just for 1 day. Don't share your opinion on social media, make a big fuss about it, or just have no opinion for 1 day and see what happens, right? So just finding that stillness within and allowing to be informed by high intelligence and not by our ever fluctuating emotions and thought constructs that continue to imprison us, and putting us in a deeper prison over the last several years, especially in so many ways. And let that stillness inform you and free you and free us collectively from our own mind and the games, the stupid games that we're playing with each other, and that sense of increasing separation and all of that that's happening right now, and division happening at every level of society. It's just horrifying to watch, right? And for me, it's just so easy to get flustered and angry about it. And that same voice, and I was getting flustered one day, it was a couple of years ago, the beginning of the pandemic, and that same voice told me, hey, Shambhu, okay, remember Gandhi, remember Mother Teresa, remember MLK, right? The only way out is love and stillness and surrender, and let that higher intelligence flow through us individually. And then that inversion will fix itself and we'll come out of it, closer to the light than ever. So I'm going to shut up and have you jump in.
You said something at the very beginning. I do want to come back to. You said all these striving to get somewhere enforces or creates duality, like separation. Yes. Can you talk about that a bit more? Because you said it very quickly, and I know a year ago, I would have not understood what you said. Can you break that down a bit more?
So let's approach it from a few angles. To start with one of them, the spiritual practice itself, right? Whether you're using the Ramana Maharshi inquiry, who am I, and always asking, who am I, who am I? Or whether you're using a multi-stage, let's say, pranayama practice or kundalini practice or whatever, right? You can get so tied up, if you will, in mastering the technique perfectly. Oh, I have to breathe in for 10 seconds. I have to exhale for 7 seconds, right? And that's fine for a while, but then it can create the unconscious belief that I need to keep on doing this to get to a place of stillness, or to feel my heart, or for chakra to open, and this chakra needs to get open for something to happen, etc., etc. Whereas you can just fall into stillness and allow the stillness to do the work. That falling into that higher intelligence, it knows what you need right now. And yes, if you need a chakra to get open, it will open it for you because it knows better than you what you need right now. When I sit in stillness, sometimes my body might start doing like what's called kriya, like movements, just to like shake off or move something. Chakra might open. I might have an emotional or mental kriya, like this, like train wreck of karmic emotions and images and whatever might come up. It might be from my early childhood, or it might be from last week if something traumatic happened, or like from images I don't recognize from prior lifetimes. Just sitting in stillness, that might and often comes up, right? That's the cleansing, the purification, right? And all that happens within that field of stillness of awareness. You might call it stillness of awareness, right? That high intelligence that knows what need. All you need to do is the intention. Okay, I'm just going to sit still. And then you allow yourself to be worked. And you'll be worked, trust me. Right? You can experience like openness and bliss, and then that would expose deeper levels of karma, and you might feel like shit for the next following week, right? Or a month. And then you'll be given and revealed a different layer of depth and bliss and openness and all of that, right? And then deeper layer of karma. I have to say, Amos, since I started doing this over the last 3 years, the spiritual progress, if you can call it that, is equivalent to the prior 20 years of just focusing on techniques, etc., etc. That's my experience, right? I can only speak from experience. But when you think about it, it kind of makes sense. So maybe this little framework would help. It's all described in my book. Tantric practices describe 3 means to liberation: the path of effort, path of energy, path of awareness, and there's actually a 4th path called no path, right? So what I love about these teachings is that they tell you, even in the path of effort, even if you do like a breathing exercise or breath awareness exercise, you can go all the way to consciousness. You don't need to sequentially go from breath or intellect or imagination based practices through Shakti energy into awareness and then complete freedom sequentially just from breath. And breath is awareness. Actually, there's a statement that, guess what? Breath is the first unfoldment of consciousness. And that's what so much focus on in my practice, in my teachings. Just focus, just watch your breath. Just be aware of the breath. That's it. And you'll be amazed what happens just by watching your breath during the day. I'm talking right now. I'm aware of my breath. I'm listening to you. I'm aware of my breath. I'm working. I'm aware of my breath. I'm browsing Facebook. I'm aware of my breath. No matter what. No matter what. And just that can be really powerful, right? So hopefully that helps to explain that with stillness, you're kind of like bypassing the path of effort and the path of energy, if you will, and really operating at the level of awareness. And that awareness does all the work. And it might tell you actually, if you're needing it, oh, okay, Shambhu, Amos, you should do this little simple breath practice or whatever, right? And it would tell you what you need to do. And what's interesting is this is really fascinating. So the word Vishranti, for stillness, for repose, actually, in Sanskrit. So this whole different topic we can do some other time. The power of language. What Vishranti means. So Vishranti is V plus Shram. So Shram in Sanskrit means to perform acts of austere devotion, to undergo mortification or penance, to be wearied or fatigued, to be distressed, to exert oneself. And when you put the particle V in front of it, so Shram becomes Vishranti, it makes it the opposite. So it becomes to take rest, to repose, right? It's interesting. I'm originally Bulgarian, and in Bulgarian, sram means shame, very similar to shram in Sanskrit. All this idea of performing acts of austere devotion, mortification, penance, self-flagellating yourself. Oh, you gotta do the practice. You gotta get up. You gotta meditate in the morning, and this and that, right? It's just so the literal meaning is without austere devotion, without undergoing mortification or penance, without fatigue, without distress, without exertion, in other words, to repose or rest. But that doesn't mean you're spacing out. Oh, I'm just going to repose and rest in my own being in stillness, and you're going to space out. No, you have to be aware. You're present, and you allow that stillness to work you. Right. And think about this, just the meaning of Vishranti, think about all these traditions which remain unnamed that focus on sin. So just the word itself is telling you, you're not a sinner. You don't need to perform these austerities and create additional suffering on top of the suffering that already being here is at a certain level. Just fall and repose into your being, because there's only one consciousness, there's only one knower reposing in bliss and freedom. And that bliss and freedom is your birthright. That's who you are. And going back to my near-death experience, right? I think the reason I got spit out back into this lifetime is to realize, hey, Shambhu, guess what? You can experience that light that you were so longing at that near-death experience at that point to go back to. You can experience that bliss and freedom right here, right now, in this rotting body. And that has certainly become my experience of, and in the book I talk about the layers of bliss, the 7 layers of bliss, how to access them. Talk about Svatantra Shakti, the energy of freedom, which is what the inherent aspect of the light that decided to create this play of consciousness. How amazing. And that the shortest path is stillness. The shortest path is that reposing within and letting that higher intelligence to inform you what you need to do to free yourself and embody that and discover that light while you're walking on this amazingly beautiful planet.
Shambhu, this has been, wow, we just came full circle. We just did full circle. This has been an amazing interview. I'm thankful that I can actually understand what you're saying, because I've come out of the box of religion, and the box of religion had principles that helped me. There's principles that helped me, but it's how you said doing the activity to generate the result. The goal is to get to the result, not to keep doing the activity as a means of I just love, yeah, I just love this interview. It was amazing.
Yeah, so the promotional part, this is the book, Sacred Repose, Abiding in Bliss and Freedom. It's available on Amazon.
Can you put the link after in the Facebook comments section?
Perfect.
Any links? Yeah, so people, I'll tag you in this, but you know, I'd like to get you on our networking events. I know you're not big on social media, you said, but we run these networking events called First Date networking events, and the goal of them is to help people connect. So you can go and create new experiences together in business or personal life, whatever. I'd love to, if you're interested, they're free events we run.
Yeah, we can take it offline. Yeah, we'll chat about it.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. Many blessings, everybody.
Thank you so much, Shambhu, for being here. ENTV, if you have been listening or watching this interview, connect with Shambhu. We'd love to connect with you if you guys jive. And what a gift this was. We'll end it here. Thanks so much, Shambhu.
Many blessings. Bye.